Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back once again to the only live Monday through Friday lacrosse talks on the planet. I am your host, Michael Karvelis, and this is Daily Dive. It is Thursday, April 2nd, 2026, and this show begins now. We are live streaming via the airwaves of North American Talk Radio on YouTube. Thank you so much for your continued support and, of course, subscribing and liking the video. It helps us out, tremendously. On today's action-packed episode, I'm going to first talk about the Philadelphia Wings and specifically an awesome article from Jordie from Barstool. Then I'll do my top 5 Philadelphia Wings landing spots. And then we'll transition from Wings talk and get to how could these players win the MVP. We're talking Brett Dobson, Jeff Teat, Keegan Ball, and Andrew Q. Out of those 4 guys, I've got some criteria they have to meet that could actually get them to win the MVP. And finally, we'll do latest in could happen, where I try to tackle Graham Perro's NLStats.com and see how much the league has changed from last week. And finally, we will create the narrative for week 19. This show is presented by the NLL merchandise found at natalkradio.us/NLL. United States residents, it is time to get your playoffs gear. Colorado Mammoth and Buffalo Bandit shirts are available. Again, head to natalkradio.us/NLL, and we appreciate you for participating in just one of many ways to support this show and this channel. I want to first start off today's show with the continuing saga that is the Philadelphia Wings, ever since they officially announced that their ownership was done, even though it's been done for a while. Then we have had a lot of stuff come out. There's been vague, hollow reporting. There's been fans petitioning for if they all could just crowdfund the whole thing, Green Bay Packers style. There's been fans who are frustrated with the ownership. There's been fans in Philadelphia who said, who cares? It's Bucks lacrosse. Obviously, those guys were going to come into the fold, but it is frustrating every time it happens. Even though I mentally prepare myself, I still am telling myself, they haven't seen it yet. They haven't seen it yet. Okay. We've also gotten some articles. Now, the best one I've read so far has been by Jordie from Barstool. I am not a Barstool content consumer. I know a lot of people are religious on what they do. I'll put it this way. There are a lot of people that want to be like Barstool. I don't even know what that means. I know it's like internet startup, but it's like everyone is trying that now. But my point is with that and saying, I've seen people mention Jordie. Apparently he's a lacrosse fan from the Philadelphia area. I could be wrong in the Philadelphia part. He's a lacrosse fan. I barely click on his profile. But Adam Levy reposted an article by him that the title got my attention. It's titled, this is March 31st at 3 p.m. Eastern. It's titled, "It takes a staggering amount of incompetence for a pro sports team to not survive in Philadelphia." Now, I encourage you to read this, and I'm not even an article reader. This one was intriguing, though. So, some of the key points in this article that I loved was the fact that Jordie does mention Philadelphia fans, they love their teams, they hate their teams. He said, but the matter of fact is, one way or another, we care. We care deeply, almost too deeply, some would say. All right? He then goes on to talk about Philadelphia sports and how it becomes part of you. And then he says, this is exactly what Comcast Spectacor managed to do with the second iteration of the Wings, when he said, you'd really have to try to put on a product that is such utter dog bleep that Philly sports fans are totally apathetic to your team. He said that's what Comcast did. He then says, not only is it professional lacrosse, it's box lacrosse. So he acknowledges the fact that, yeah, it is a little bit, you're not going to sell stuff because it is the NLL. And obviously everyone knows that with a pulse. But one of the things he mentioned was, at the end of the day, Comcast Spectacor is proving they are a drain on Philly sports. They aren't necessarily cheap owners, he says, but they are soulless owners. They are corporate owners. They are owners who care about margins and spreadsheets more than they do about hanging banners, all right? Now, granted, unfortunately, and I know Jordie probably acknowledges this if you ask him, unfortunately, that's probably most sports owners. Like, we all want a Jamie Dowick or a Joe Tsai, but even those, like, look at the Brooklyn Nets, man. Like, Joe Tsai clearly is doing that just to make a bunch of money. I'm sure he likes basketball, but it's very clear they can run themselves into the ground year after year, and I don't think he necessarily cares as much as he should, or at least as much as sports fans want him to. Another thing about this is, I have said a lot of these leagues, or a lot of these teams in the NLL, a lot of these ownership groups are doing it for tax write-offs. And that's clearly what Comcast Spectacor did here. It's unfortunate, but that's the way sports owners operate. And then I'm going to refer to another article, this one from Dawson Nielsen at Inside Lacrosse. He was quoting Jamie Dowick in his article. I guess he talked to Jamie. I don't know how this conversation came about, but Jamie Dowick, Toronto Rock owner, said that he was in a room of a bunch of people who want to add not one expansion team when the Panther City talks, but two. He wouldn't say who it was, but he wanted to add two teams. Well, they did, the Board of Governors or whatever. And he's like, my vote saying no could only stop the second team and not the Panther City thing. He said it was a bad decision. And one of the reasons he mentioned was everyone else in the room pretty much didn't care, because they don't bleed lacrosse like Jimmy Dowick has necessarily helped. Look, like Jimmy Dowick has been hands-on. And so I feel like that's the mindset a lot of these owners have. And so, yeah, part of me, like, I fully support, like, dragging Comcast through the coals, because I've told you guys before, we have the internet, and ironically, it's weird sometimes. It doesn't make any sense. If it used to be great in this area, and suddenly just started crapping its pants out of nowhere, and I'm hooked up to an Ethernet cable. I don't know. I'm pretty sure they're connected to the Comcast Spectacor, probably not. My point is, I'm okay dragging billionaires and Comcast through the coals. It's also sports reality. And if the NLL cannot crack a profit or a major profit, this will continue. And we can blame Comcast, but this ultimately, I believe, now that I've slept on it a couple of times, it falls in the direct feed of the National Lacrosse League. If their sport was marketed better, if their sport was actually commercialized, and they have actually been proactive in growing the game like they said they would, this would have never happened. And the Wings would be thriving like they once were. But it is no mistake that the Wings went from some juggernaut in the 90s to this. And I know winning, guys, winning is not just going to help everything out here. And I feel like, I know like there's some talk about whether Philadelphia sports fans, whether they support losing teams. Guys, they support the Sixers and the Flyers, etc., because they're owned, because they're part of an entity in the NBA In the NHL, I know Eagles have been great under Howie Roseman, but when the Eagles are not good, they're going to support their birds because it's football. And football, like, fans don't realize they, in a way, are obligated in their own minds, whether they want to admit it or not, to watch these sports, because if they don't, they're left out of the loop in conversations, whether it be with their family or on social media or at work. They cannot talk about the Eagles or the Sixers if they don't watch them. You're in Philadelphia, it's like you're subconsciously obligated to. We're not at that point in box lacrosse. And again, I am not saying Comcast is not to blame, because they are. But the NLL, if we're doing some pieces of the pie, of the blame pie, it has to be the NLL foremost and then Comcast. Because let's be again real. I'm going to hold Brett Thru to his own word. Remember after Panther City folded and they were god-awful? Brett Thru said, I forgot where it was, but he was like, we have to focus on the sustainability of our teams, and all this word salad about how they have to figure out how these local markets can work. Pal, it's been 3 years. And we've seen all this unboxed stuff. We've seen Albany bounce to Oshawa. Honest to God, and I know Nick Sankovic, or whatever the crap his name was, I know everyone in hindsight is blaming this guy. I get it. But he was at least trying to do something, and whether or not that was to pat his own pockets, newsflash, Brett Thru makes 7 figures. Like, I'm not going to let people do that. I'm not going to let people pretend that it's all Nick's bullcrap. It's everyone's fault that runs the NLL since 2010. I'm putting a generic year on that. But we can't just pretend that this is okay. We can't say it's all Comcast, it's all Sankovic. Don't worry. No. Because Brett Thru told us after Panther City that this was going to get better. And thankfully, Seneca Nation happened. There was a check mark. But again, Albany to Oshawa in the middle of the night, and then Philadelphia, your hottest sports town, and your headquarters, for what that's worth, is located in the city. And we need new owners. Now, granted, months from now, they might get local owners, and that would be great. But until that happens, Brett Thru has failed at what he said he would do. You can't just rely on Joe's side to rent him out. And I know I said before, there's got to be some plan here. At least I hope so. But this cannot keep falling at these owners. Because if this league, we can be stuck like the WNBA for the rest of time. But we've got to make money. They've got to be proactive. And it wasn't just a sudden breaking news that, oh my gosh, Philadelphia fans have realized, hey, Comcast is sucking it up. It's been that way for years. And Brett Thru sat around and watched it happen. That's used, I understand there might have been some stuff he was doing, but in the grand picture, it didn't work. And it wasn't even close to working. Read what these Wings fans are saying. They are so frustrated with this crap. And I don't know why. Like, again, we can blame, I'm not taking shots at Jordie here. You can blame Comcast. You can blame Philadelphia sports fans. All of it. You can blame the losing. It doesn't matter. If your league is trying to be as sustainable as you claim, and you're trying to help these markets, Philadelphia, this does not happen. I know they were going to get a WNBA team. It doesn't matter. If the NLL is thriving, and I'm not saying we were going to get to that point in 3 or 4 years, but if the NLL is taking leaps forward, this does not happen. And it did, because we are stuck here for decades. Thankfully, I've only seen it for 4 years. I would have gone insane and stopped the show 10 times already if I have survived 40 years. So, yeah, take your shots at Comcast. I know the team wasn't winning. Shout out Paul Day. But in the end, man, the league has got to get better and become a more reputable brand. Because until that point, this will continue to happen. We can take pals and owners all day long. They don't matter. Because they're going to stick around if you're making money. That's how it is. Next up, with that segment in mind, we're going to have a much lighter note in my top 5 landing spots for the Philadelphia Wings when I come back to this edition of Daily Dive. Don't go anywhere.
You're listening to North American Talk Radio, the all-new talk radio station featuring sports, movies, politics, mental health, and more. Check us out at natalkradio.com and subscribe today. Buy event tickets straight from our website to help the cause and get tickets to your favorite events for less. That's natalkradio.com. Thanks for listening.
I want to welcome you back to Daily Dive. This is the only live Monday through Friday lacrosse talks on the planet. I'm your host, Michael Karvelis, on this wonderful Thursday, April 2nd of 2026. It is currently 1:19 p.m. here on the East Coast. Remember, we have our new start time at 1 o'clock. This is our second day doing so we want to welcome you. If you're joining live and if you're on the replay, hey, your schedule might work now, so you don't have to wait. And it turns out we might be live when you're like, oh my gosh, we're live. Yes, we are. I just talked about the article from by Jordie from Barstool calling out Comcast, and rightfully so. I also feel like we need to do a better job, like the NLL needs to do a better job and not relying on incompetent or hands-off owners, because that was what's going to happen the entire time. Later on the show, I'll be talking about how will each of these 4 guys win the MVP. What's their path forward? I hope you're ready for that. Now that we just talked about the Wings, let's continue the conversation briefly here into my top 5 landing spots. Actually, no pun intended, but when the pun hits you right in the face, you take it. So, full disclosure, this does not mean what Michael is hearing, because Michael was the first one. I have said it from day one. I know there's going to be a bunch of people who get more clicks than me. I have been on record saying the reason why Joe Tsai did this was not because of a tax write-off. By saying this, I mean the funding of the Wings for a year. He did this because he recognized there could be a local owner. You don't just save the Wings when OEG from Edmonton or Montreal might want them. I don't think that was the plan here. I will stand by that. I also was the first to say Trenton might be a thing. My point is, I'm on the local bandwagon here. So keep that in mind. Also, I don't think we need another Canadian market. And listen, God bless half of our audience who's in Canada. I love you guys. Thank you for this wonderful sport. But, well, that's used lightly. My point is, can we just help the States out a little bit here? Can we recognize the roster just a little bit here? It is a little bit American. I don't know if you guys have heard. So keep that in mind as I give you my top 5. Now, again, this isn't what Michael is hearing. It's what I'm like, man, that could work. Number one, again, for everything I've talked about for a year now, local. And that includes New Jersey, that includes Lehigh Valley, all of the within an hour-ish range of the Wings now in Philadelphia. That's what I mean by local, that umbrella. Would love that. That is the goal here. Number two, Charlotte. Now, Charlotte is an interesting one. That logo did not work. Charlotte is an interesting one because we know the Cobras were so stinking awful. I don't know the story of why of them leaving. I just know they were awful. One of the worst teams of all time in any sport. But Charlotte is kind of the home of Brett Frude. This is a NASCAR guy. NASCAR's got their Hall of Fame in Charlotte. Not saying that applies here. I'm just saying he's a North Carolina guy. And I would not mind Charlotte being a place that happens here. Number three, Minnesota. I don't know how far Philadelphia is from Minnesota, driving or flying. I just know keeping them northern in a market where a lot of people seem to like that stuff. Yes. You've got the Lake Dragons. I don't know. That would be interesting. I know the Black Bears was, what was it? Montreal, like Castor de Montreal. Like, what was the Ottawa thing? Oh, the Electrics. Remember the Electrics? Then they came with the Black Bears. Yeah, unblocks didn't apply, did it, scam? I just wonder if they do Minnesota, would it be like the Lake Dragons? Would Charlotte be like the Cobras? I don't know. It's good stuff, though. I think Minnesota would just be a nice northern market. Number four, Edmonton. Now, I know it's number four. That's a big drop-off for me. From local to Charlotte in Minnesota, and then a bigger drop-off to Edmonton. I just feel like Edmonton, the only reason why this sticks out for me and even made my top five is because if OEG is involved and does not want an expansion team but actually wants a relocated Wings, I would like this because I don't think OEG would get involved without really at least trying, more so than Comcast did. I know that OEG might actually not care either. I just feel like they've done a great job with the Oilers, so why not, you know? Number five, an even bigger drop-off from Edmonton, is Baltimore. You could also throw in Seattle. I thought about Nashville as a destination as well, but there's my top five. As you can see, local or United States-based is nice, but there you go. Michael Grace from Halifax says the only issue I'd have with any team moving local within an hour's drive. What does that mean? Is if fans wanted to go to games, they would have driven the hour to Philly. No, I agree with that, but I also believe there is value in ownership that cares. Like, obvious, I feel like the NLL, like Comcast is above the class of the NLL right now. And like, you're not going to just win over Comcast unless you're making a major profit. So maybe if there is, I don't want to say like an indigenous one like Seneca or Kurt Stiers, or even a hands-on like Jimmy Dowlick, but there is like a middle class is used in terms of like billionaire and millionaire talk. I'm not talking about the middle class in general, but if there is like a middle class of ownership groups, that's what I like here. And that's what would be in Trenton. So I would not mind the fact, and again, I know me and Captain talked about it, but if they could find like an 8,000 seat barn, kind of like what Oshawa did, kind of like what Henderson is for the Desert Dogs, I would love that. As long as the ownership did not need all of this boatloads of money, because again, the NLL is not at that point. It's shocking to me that Nick Segovich was able to get Comcast to buy in. That's actually a props to him, because I don't know how you sell that to them. So yeah, but that is a good point. It's something obviously I've considered, but I think that the ownership would be the key there. and thinking that they don't need all this millions of dollars of profit from the team yet. But there's my top 5. What is your top 5? And again, this is more like, this is me reading the tea leaves, so that's why Edmonton is lower. Basically, okay, so if I had to dumb it down to my reporting point of view, number 1, local, Gap. Number 2, U.S. markets, meaning Charlotte, Minnesota, probably would be the 2, or maybe Seattle, I doubt it. Number 3 would be Edmonton or Montreal. Now Montreal, I don't like the fact that they're shoving all these teams in the Northeast. I understand it helps with travel, but you already bit the bullet by doing unified standings. So don't just conveniently throw the teams in the Northeast. And by Northeast, I know I'm not the greatest at geography, but we're not going to pretend that Montreal is not right in that thumb or right in that quadrant of North America. Like, get out of here. But again, I feel like number 1 will be, like, this is from my reporter/insider point of view. Number 1, local. Number 2, U.S. market. That's not as local. Number 3, Edmonton. Number 4, Montreal. And then number 5. No, I would put folding. This sucks. I would put folding either above. I would put folding tied with Edmonton, actually. Now, obviously, folding was not part of the equation for this list, but I would actually put folding above Montreal, if I had to guess. And again, just reading those tea leaves. Can you drink? I don't know. When we come back, it is the latest and could happen. We're going to try to attack Graham Perro's website from within. I'm kidding. We'll be right back. It's who might make the playoffs, looking at the league with 3 weeks to go. We'll be right back to Daily Dive. Don't go anywhere, please.
You're listening to North American Talk Radio, the all-new talk radio station featuring sports, movies, politics, mental health, and more. Check us out at natalkradio.com and subscribe today. Buy event tickets straight from our website to help the cause and get tickets to your favorite events for less. That's natalkradio.com. Thanks for listening.
Thank you once again for tuning in to this, again, an afternoon edition of Daily Dive. We are live every day starting yesterday to the rest of the season at 1 o'clock Eastern. It's currently 1:31. We hope you're enjoying the fun here. We've had some commenters chime in already. Obviously, CLL, aka Fox, said, "We're late." I know. He did comment at 1 o'clock. I don't know, man. I feel like you got to wait till a minute passes, and it did for the record. But you can't come in that at 1 o'clock, sir. No can do. Of course, Michael Grace from Halifax chimed in with a great point, which, of course, you have to take into consideration as well. You would want new owners, obviously. All right, so stay tuned for my creating. I can't talk today. For creating the narrative in Week 19, and also how these guys, how each of them can win the MVP. What is their path forward? I've got some criteria for them. Stay tuned for that. All right, so the NLL, the fact that it's a week-to-week league, every single week and every day, the conversation changes. Because what I thought Friday, or should I say last Thursday, about some teams, is not the vibes I'm getting right now. I know Kevin Wildes on First Things First via Fox Sports 1 does the whole vibe check. And that's where we're at in the NLL right now, especially as these playoff scenarios get underway. And again, while this guy necessarily does not like me, I still think what he does for the NLL is simply freaking awesome. Not only does he do an NLL chatter or whatever it's called, I should know that. But he does like this, like things that he loved, things that he didn't love in the NLL every week. He also does this website called NLLstats.com. And if that wasn't good enough for our spoiled selves, thanks to Graham Perro, he gave us games to play. One of those is, like I said, an immaculate grid. You can look at the name pronunciation guide. You can find players in history and all kind of different stuff. What could happen might be the best part of the website, especially as the NLL season continues to wind down. And again, I don't know if he watches the show, so hopefully he doesn't hear me say this. I think this guy could charge people $5 a month and make a boatload of dollars. Because I would pay it. I'm not kidding. But don't do that in case you see this, and I hope no one sends it to him. Anyways, NLLstats.com/could-happen. You basically go on there and pick every winner for the rest of the season, and it shows you the playoff scenarios. So last week's show, I had the following. I had the Rush as my 1 seed. Vancouver would be second. Both of those with a 14-4 record. Toronto was third at 12-6. Georgia and Colorado were the 4-5 at 11-7. Ottawa and Buffalo were 6 and 7 seed at 10-8. And Vegas snuck into the playoffs with a 9-9 record. Now it is time to update that list. All right. So here we go. And also last week, I had Rochester, San Diego, Halifax, Oshawa, Calgary, and Philadelphia as my final, 9 through 15. 14. Oh, excuse me. Rest and pissed. The Panther City ownership. I said ownership, not where you get it. Here they are. Bam! So, did I have San Diego last week? I think I did pretty much the same, but you'll see what changed in the top. So there it is. I have Rochester finishing 8-10, even though I did gain a lot of confidence from the last week, because I believe last week I had them finishing at 7-11. So we are gaining just a little bit. San Diego, Halifax, and of course Calgary, Oshawa, and Philadelphia. Now, here is where the top 8 gets a little bit fluffy. Bam! I now have Vancouver finishing as the 1 seed. I think Saskatchewan does win their final 2 games, and why not, right? I feel like they've earned the benefit. God, I told you I couldn't talk today. I feel like they've earned the benefit of the doubt, but if we're also being honest with ourselves here, have they? Remember I kept on believing in Oshawa and believing in Rochester? Even took the bait on Ottawa. How'd that work out for me? Not very well, now did it? Number 3 would now be Georgia. Once again, I gained a lot of faith. They walked in Ottawa and bap to the Black Bears, where Callum Jones was not happy, nor should he be. Number 4, I've got Colorado in the 4-5 with Buffalo, with the game being in Denver. That would be nuts. I've got Ottawa at number 6. I do think they win their final 2 games. At least that's what I feel right now. I've got Toronto falling to number 7. And again, last week I had them at a 12-6 record in the 3 seed. Losses to Philadelphia will do that to you. And number 8, I've still got Vegas sneaking into the 9-9 record. All right, so what is your could happen? Again, NLLstats.com/could happen. And Graham, don't ever charge for that, please, because I don't need any more subscriptions. We got ESPN, we got Paramount, OnlyFans. What? No, I'm kidding. The joke was right there. All right, folks, thanks for tuning in so far. We're not done yet. We still have to create the narrative, but coming up next after this commercial break will be how these fellers can win the MVP. What does that look like? I think I've got a pretty big list, pretty good list coming up. You don't want to miss it. You're watching Dilly Dive. Don't go anywhere. You won't.
You're listening to North American Talk Radio, the all-new talk radio station featuring sports, movies, politics, mental health, and more. Check us out at natalkradio.com and subscribe today. Buy event tickets straight from our website to help the cause and get tickets to your favorite events for less. That's natalkradio.com. Thanks for listening. You're listening to North American Talk Radio, the all-new talk radio station featuring sports, movies, politics, mental health, and more. Check us out at natalkradio.com and subscribe today. Buy event tickets straight from our website to help the cause and get tickets to your favorite events for less. That's natalkradio.com. Thanks for listening.
Welcome back to Daily Dive. Again, you are locked into the only live Monday through Friday lacrosse talk show on the planet. We thank you for tuning in so far. We began today's show with my reaction to the article by Jordie from Barstool, where he called out Comcast, and I said that was awesome, but make sure we call out the NLL for not being great yet, or even close to that. Not even on the trajectory of that yet. I'm talking to you, Brett Fruit. We then gave my top 5 landing spots for the Philadelphia Wings. Number 1 was local. Number 2 was Charlotte, followed by Minnesota, Edmonton, and Baltimore. And I even gave you, from my insider's hat point of view, number 1 would be local. Number 2 probably would be Edmonton, or like Edmonton, or like another U.S. market. And then right there would be folding, and then I would consider Montreal and other markets like Nashville and stuff like that. But my favorites were local, Charlotte, Minnesota, Edmonton, and Baltimore. We then talked about my latest in the Could Happen section of NLLstats.com, which is made by Graham Perro. Not only do I not want him to charge for that feature, I also think it's great to see how the league changes every week. Toronto Rock are now skating on thin ice for me. But yeah. Stay tuned for Creating the Narrative. Coming up next will be our last segment. But for now, I've been teasing it all show. It's our segment of the day. We should start doing that. It's time for How to Win the MVP. Or, it would be, should I call it, I thought there's a better term for this, but whatever. I like his voice. This is our segment of the day. There's no sponsor for you yet, but darn, I just thought of it. All right, so I'm only considering these 4. I get it, the Dane Smith and the Del Bianco or Dylan Ward. There's like Zach Greer. There's a couple of names out there, but I know the media too well by this point. I'm part of it, but like I know you guys too well. These are your four characters. And I'm going to tell you how each of them could win the MVP, going from most likely to least likely, all right? And you'll see as we go through this why I'm saying that, all right? Let's first get to Brett Dobson, the goalie for the Georgia Swarm. Currently, Brett Dobson has a save percentage of 84.4, which I believe would still shatter an NLL season record. He has over 600 saves. Devlin Shanahan has only relieved him for 53 minutes. And in his relief, 67.4 percentage. He's not there yet, pal. The Georgia Swarm currently have a 10-5 record. But if the Swarm get one more win to ensure an 11-win season, which is insane when you look at this roster and how their offense is played, and if Brett Dobson can stay above the 84 save percentage threshold, I don't think he loses the MVP. I think that is most likely going to happen. The Georgia Swarm coming up play San Diego. That is next weekend. They then host Rochester, and then the next day they visit Rochester to end the season. So Brett Dobson, that one more win should be easier. The 84 save percentage, I think, would guarantee it, but boy, that would be tough. Up next, let's talk about Jeff Teat. Jeff Teat this season is currently at 40 goals and 66 assists for second most points in the NLL at 106. He also has the tied for second most in goals. Jeff Teat has 10 power play goals, which is top 5 in the NLL. He's got a 108 loose balls, which again is awesome. It's more than Connor Fields, which is impressive. Jeff Teat also has 6 caused turnovers, which to me matters because he's been getting back on defense. So with all that being said, how will Jeff Teat win the MVP? The Ottawa Black Bears are currently 8-8. Ever since I made the 8-5 tweets when they're 3 games above 500 for the first time in this young man's career, then they've lost 3 straight. But if they can rattle off 2 wins to end the season, and of course those games would be against versus Toronto next week, and at Halifax to end the season, that would be a big step in the right direction. Also, if he led the NLL in points, that means over Keegan Ball, and probably you don't have to have more goals than Andrew Q, but that would be nice. And finally, Brett Dobson's save percentage under 84, or Swarm lose their last 3. If Brett Dobson's save percentage dips like an 83.7, and Jeff Teat's Black Bears are 10-8, and he's led the NLL in points, there's a heated debate for MVP. If the Swarm finish with what would it be? If the Swarm finish with a 10-8 record, and Jeff Teat's already got a 10-8 record, leading the NLL in points, that could also be something to look at in a very heated argument for MVP. Next up, we're going to do Keegan Ball of the Vancouver Warriors. Right now, Keegan Ball does lead the NLL in points with 107. That also includes 36 goals, which currently sits only 6th place in the NLL, but still very good for him. He also only has 85 loose balls. But Keegan Ball, when you look at his other players on his team, he has 40 more points than second place Jesse King. And that, of course, matters in this discussion. So with that being said, how does Keegan Ball win the MVP? Bam! I think the Vancouver Warriors would be the number 1 seed, which is obviously attainable at this point in the season, because they already have an 11-4 record. If they win out, they're going to look very good. I think he must lead the NLL in points. I don't think Jeff T can lead the NLL in points and this guy get MVP. I think the same scenario with Brett Dobson, Sabres is dipping down, or the Swarm losing their last 3. And then after all those 3 things happen, if Ottawa only wins 1 more game, I don't even care if Ottawa misses the playoffs at this point. But if they finish 500 and Keegan Ball leads the league in points and as the 1 seed, come on, man. Oh, and if Brett, the Swarm, are also a little bit like the Flappy Bird, like the flappy wings are getting a little bit clipped or a little bit out of breath for the Swarm. I don't know why I did all that just now. I think if all those 3 things happen and Ottawa finishes 9-9 at best, Keegan Ball's your MVP. And now let's finish up with Andrew Q. I know he's missed 4 games. Well, yeah. So his scenario is going to have to be a little bit different. And currently, by the way, Vancouver finishes off with Buffalo this weekend. Then they were home, Halifax, and home to the Philadelphia Wings, RIP, at least the Comcast. Now we're looking at Andrew Q. Andrew Q, right now at this very moment, does not lead the league in points. He does lead the league in goals at 43. His 78 points is currently 15th in the league. But again, Andrew Q has 10 power play goals. Andrew Q is shooting a blistering hot 36.8 shot percentage. He only has 45 loose balls, but also only has 29 turnovers, and I think that also matters. And he's only responsible for 3 of the 5 Mammoth losses. But again, keeping in mind the point total and the missed 4 games, all of these things have to be true at once. Andrew Q, the Mammoth would have to be a 2. I'll put it this way. I might change that to a 1 seed. I think the Mammoth have to be the 1 seed. This guy has got to lead the NLL in goals. Brett Dobson's save percentage must be under 84. And Ottawa cannot just finish 9-9. They must miss the playoffs. Because again, if all that's happening, I say number 2 seed best. At worst, I'm going to say number 1 seed. I'm going to change this graphic and post to number 1 seed because I don't think if Vancouver wins the 1 seed, this guy's getting past Keegan Ball. But if there's a scenario where they can win the number 1 seed, they would have to win their final 3 games, and the Vancouver Warriors would have to lose. What would that be? Let's hear. So they would have to lose at least 2 of their next 3. All right? That's how that would work. And for Colorado, their upcoming schedule is this week against Vegas. That's tomorrow. Then they go to travel to play the Rush and then to play the Roughnecks. There is a path for Andrew Q. It's a very slim path. So there we go. Who is your MVP right now? Who do you think wins the MVP? Let me know in the comments or, of course, on social media at Daily Dive LAX. Well, folks, we appreciate you tuning in for so far, but we're not done with today's show. When we come back, I am going to create the narrative for NLL Week 19. There are 3 weeks left in the NLL season, so let's hype it up a few more times. We'll be right back in Daily Dive. Don't go anywhere. We're going to wrap it up next. Trojan style. We're back to the sponsors. Yes.
You're listening to North American Talk Radio, the all-new talk radio station featuring sports, movies, politics, mental health, and more. Check us out at natalkradio.com and subscribe today. Buy event tickets straight from our website to help the cause and get tickets to your favorite events for less. That's natalkradio.com. Thanks for listening. You're listening to North American Talk Radio, the all-new talk radio station featuring sports, movies, politics, mental health, and more. Check us out at natalkradio.com and subscribe today. Buy event tickets straight from our website to help the cause and get tickets to your favorite events for less. That's natalkradio.com. Thanks for listening.
One last segment here on Dilly Dive on this Thursday, April 2nd, 2026. Thank you so much for tuning in once again. It is 1:54 here on the East Coast. Remember, tomorrow we're going to start again at 1 o'clock Eastern because that is our new start time for the rest of the season. Thank you for your cooperation and scheduling adjustments. It's time to create the narrative of the National Lacrosse League for week number 19. I told you guys before, this is a week-to-week league. And every week, there are new storylines for every single game. So let's talk about what fans might be discussing on social media, what they might be thinking about while watching the game, or if they are going to the barbershop, what are they and the boys talking about, especially in those dark Saskatchewan barbershops? I'm just saying. Hey, y'all, you heard the Rush gonna play this weekend? Yeah, who they playing? I don't forgot the schedule. I guess they ain't playing nobody. Y'all the ones who embrace the stupid redneck stuff, not me. All right, so let's lock in here. Friday night, tomorrow night, 9 o'clock. Again, all these times are Eastern. This is the only game on Friday. It's the 7-7 Las Vegas Desert Dogs at the 10-5 Colorado Mammoth. Las Vegas, most wins in a season. They could have a chance to finish the season 11-7. Am I reading that right? Do they really still have 4 games left? Holy cow, they do! Wow. At Colorado, at Philadelphia. Folks, the Dogs could actually finish 11-7. Isn't that something? But no, not only is that a thing, how good is that Vegas defense? On Monday's show, I kicked around the tires with the captain about that question because ever since Tyson Bell came to town and Sean Williams decided to perfectly press the goalie lineup buttons with Alex Bouquet and Landon Kells, they've been good. They beat Rochester twice. Then they made Calgary's Cinderella run look foolish and just, how dare you even think about that? But if they can look good on the road against the Mammoth, oh my. Also, who starts the net? Is it Bouquet? I would think so. And finally, can the Mammoth get back on top? They could already reach their 11th victory with a win tomorrow night. I also want to see if Andrew Q can continue his shooting percentage. Last time I did a graphic for a player, it was Connor Fields, and that went south very quickly. We'll see if Andrew Q can step up to the challenge. On Saturday, there are 3 of the 4 games in the early window. Now, thankfully for Halifax fans, especially if you're not going to the game, this game does start an hour earlier at 6 o'clock. The 6-8 Rochester Nighthawks take on the 6-9 Halifax Thunderbirds. Now, not only do these two teams have a storied history with a rivalry because Kurt Steyer decided to pack it up and move to town, this should be a rivalry game. And remember, the winner of this game is still fighting for their lives. Now, Rochester, they only have 8 losses right now. Believe it or not, the Rochester Nighthawks could finish 10-8. And boy, would that be what a roller coaster if the Rochester Nighthawks went from best team in the league for the first 3 games to holy crap, they suck, to what a weird coaching move, to change the defensive coach and then finishing 10-8. Oh my goodness. I just raised my blood pressure talking so much and thinking about it. I also might need a medical appointment. I'm just saying. But yeah. Again, I think Rochester has an obviously better chance. But if the Thunderbirds win this game, it's going to start looking kind of reminiscent of the Nighthawks a couple of years ago. Even though math is not on their side, there's a chance. Phoenix? I don't even know what that means. What do you mean by zombie and Phoenix? What does that mean? Next up, the 6-8 San Diego Seals travel. They're 6-8. That's crazy. Travel to take on the 9-6 Toronto Rock. The first of 2 games airing at 7 o'clock. Which is why I say this. This would be the game of the week if the other game happening or starting at the exact same time was not Bennett's Vancouver. That's just a shame, these 2 teams. But can the Rock rebound? Because, buddy, they better. Like, not just for my sake, but for their own sake. They walked into Philadelphia and got their you-know-what's blasted into you-know-where. It looked awful. They were terrible. Probably their worst game of the season so far. And yet the Rock are 9-6. They shut the door and beat up on the Seals, and this would all be over. That's not going to happen. Also, we need a pulse check on the San Diego Seals. All right? I don't even know what they're doing. Like, this team is the quietest disappointment of all time. They are 6-8. Remember when their biggest problem was, will Ruggieri even play? He has played. And they still suck. But again, much like Rochester, if they went out, they suddenly finished 10-8. And who better to start that win streak against than these Toronto Rock, who suddenly lost their identity against the Wings? I'm just saying. But again, that would be game of the week, if not for also at 7 o'clock on Saturday. The 11-4 Vancouver Warriors are traveling to Buffalo to take on the Bandits, who are now 9-6. It's unbelievable how much the Bandits have rebounded. Now, the Bandits could also finish 9-9, and with a loss here, that would be interesting. Like, oh, wow, well, they finished 500? That'd be crazy. Now, these 2 teams, I believe, already played. Yes, they did. That was, so before Buffalo won 5 straight, I know I said on the show after they lost to Vancouver, because I know in the end, Mitch DeSnew made a weird play, and they had it, but then they didn't. Unlike Brad Challoner, who did make a great point, I felt really good about that game. And I felt like, man, Buffalo was right there. And after that, they won 5 in a row against the Rush, the Rock, the Mammoth, and the Rush again. Unreal. They also stuck in the Seals game. The issue with the Bandits right now, they're on the 5-game win streak. Last 2 games, they have been dog piss, to put it at best. To put it lightly and respectfully here. Their offense has been garbage the last 2 games. I don't care how they ended. They are not feeling awesome about their offense right now. And with an offense led by Dane and Josh, I don't care who the other characters are. You 2 better figure it out, or you will be first-round exits, mark my words. Or you could make people who wrote you off at 4-6 look absolutely stupid and win a 4th title. Now, I don't think Buffalo has to win this game to necessarily give me confidence that they can win it all. But don't get blown out. Be as competitive as you were last time. In the last 5 minutes of the game, you better either be leading or have a chance to win that game. It is in Buffalo. And this season, At home, the Bandits have already lost the Thunderbirds, who aren't very good, and the Wings, who are not very good. I'm interested to see how Buffalo responds. As for Vancouver, how much better are you in the competition? Because you have the roster on paper that Buffalo did for years. Like, Buffalo's got a bunch of old guys now. Now, while Vancouver technically has that too, Vancouver's got much better young talent on their team on both sides of the ball. That's undeniable. Their goalie is in his prime. They're like, Del Bianco only needs motivation. Matt Vince needs ibuprofen and Aleve and all kind of other things after the game and before the game. Del Bianco's feeling great. So they are the better team right now. But they ain't the reigning 3-time champions. This has potential to once again be one of those games of the year kind of matchups. And I can't wait for it. And finally, after that one ends, I hope you stay up to watch the 4-11 Oshawa Firewolves against the 4-11 Calgary Roughnecks. I mean, this is unbelievable how bad this game looks. Again, like, we go from Vancouver, Buffalo, and San Diego, Toronto to Oshawa against Calgary. Yahoo! I'm like, wow, it looks bad. But again, let's be fair to those fans. Job application. Like, what does that mean? Well, I've already said before, Glenn Clark would do fantastic in media. I would love to have him on as a regular guest on the show starting next season. Because if he don't win some games, he's going to be looking for a job on Indeed.com, another free sponsor. For Calgary, yeah, I'm sure Josh Sanderson's job is safe, but why? They've been bad. They've been undisciplined. And folks, there seems to be listen, I don't think Calgary's roster, I understand they might not be a playoff roster. But the way this season has gone, I don't think the Roughnecks were as bad of a roster as we thought they were. And I know someone's got to be last place, but Aiden Walsh has not been terrible. Tyler Pace, Tanner Cook, Hayden Dixon, Braden Maya, all pretty good, right? Not bad. Defense has guys like Eli Salama, but I don't see why. Now they might need some more pieces on defense looking at it. I don't see why being like, they've been competitive in some games. Other games they've gotten taken apart. So I don't know why Josh Sanderson would not be on the hot seat at least to start next season. Also, I mentioned Braden Maye, who is a circus of a shot. I mean, this guy is ridiculous. You also have on the other side the Oshawa Firewolves like Dyson Williams, Alex Simmons, etc. So this game is full of some nice young stars. And finally, it's the only game on. I know why a lot of people might not watch it. I know the hardcores like myself will be watching it. So we are going to be up on Saturday night at 10:30 at night going like, this review's taking forever, but we'll be locked in. Even though these two teams have literally nothing to play for but pride, and I don't even know if they have that left. We'll see. All right, folks, what will you be talking about this week 19? Let us know on social media at Daily Dive LAX via Instagram or Twitter. I think comments and like just posts are easier on Twitter because you kind of like have to make a picture or DM me. On Instagram, that's kind of weird unless you don't want to pay me for like a sponsorship. But like, I feel like Twitter is easier. Yeah, let me know what you're thinking and what you're discussing during the games this weekend. Who does your team play? Comment below, etc. That's it for today's show. Coming up tomorrow will be a Week 19 NLL preview, including Pick'em and Best Bets. And let's see what Captain has for the ladder. Cannot wait for that. After the Rock blew it, we'll see how Captain begins to climb again. This has been the only live Monday through Friday lacrosse talk show on the Plains. I'm your host, Michael Karvelis saying, I hope you have a great rest of your Thursday afternoon and evening. Stay safe. Hope to see you tomorrow, same time, same place. North American Talk Radio on YouTube. This has been Daily Dive. See you tomorrow, guys.